Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. My name is Suzanne, and I'm the head coach at G.R.A.C.E Financial Coaching. And today, Thomas Blottenberger is with me. Thomas is an investment coach who joined the financial industry in 2010 because he wanted to make a difference. Thomas quickly discovered that the traditional finance industry might not have the client's best interest in mind, focusing instead on sales quotas. After attending a 2-day advisor session in 2017, Thomas discovered a way to invest scientifically, one that was not being utilized at his current firm. After that, Thomas co-founded Paradigm Shift Financial, where his true purpose for money is to make a positive impact in the world. Welcome, Thomas. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm good. I just got back from Disney World. We took the 2.5-year-old to Disney World, and you ever hear the saying, "I need a vacation from my vacation"?
Oh my God. I am the person who plans the vacation that you need a vacation from.
That's where we're at this week. It was
Gotcha.
phenomenal, and I need a vacation.
Yes. I just was on vacation for 10 days and now I need a vacation. Yep, that tracks for sure. Definitely. Did the 2.5-year-old enjoy it?
She did. She
Good.
we've lived in Florida for a little bit, and so we took her with the family discount when she was like 1.5, and she didn't really know what
Mm.
was going on, but it was funny. Now she's like totally into like Mickey and Minnie and the Disney
Oh, okay.
princesses. So
Now she has
um,
she may not remember it when she's 40, but she has
right,
you can tell that she's recognizing creatures and things and places and stuff like that.
yeah. We
That's
did a
awesome.
character lunch, one of those dining experiences,
Oh,
character
yeah.
lunch. And she sees Minnie, and Minnie's at one of the tables across the way, and she goes, "Minnie, right there, Mama! Minnie, right there! Hi, Minnie!"
Oh my
She's like,
gosh, I love it.
"Minnie," trying to get. And I'm like,
Right, like it's like
I don't.
Minnie's gonna miss her, right?
Right, I'm like, "We gotta wait her. She's coming. Don't you worry. We paid for that. She's coming."
She doesn't have a choice. She'll be here momentarily. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, when you're not on vacation or taking a vacation from your vacation, tell us how you help people as an investor coach. I actually love that title.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you were telling before we started the recording about how there's a difference between financial coach and financial advisor.
Right.
The reason I call myself an investor coach is because I kind of sit in the middle where the traditional financial advisor just tells people what they should do, but doesn't really give them any context or understanding or help them discover a greater purpose. Like, great, you made 10%, 20% on your portfolio, but what's it all for? Why? What are you up to? Right. And so an investor coach does two things. Number one is it coaches an investor on how to have the prudent behaviors that make a difference in not only investing, but life in general.
Mm,
Discovering purpose, discovering, passion, discovering what you're actually up to in life that makes a difference for you. And then aligning your investments with the most prudent way to fulfill on those things. If I have a purpose to make a difference for the world, and I end up aligning that with gambling strategies that lose me all my money, well, I just diminished my impact.
right. So you're not only helping, people who want to invest as customers of yours, for lack of a better term, but then you're also coaching other financial professionals to kind of help them on their journey as well, too.
That's definitely, it's not call it a marketplace. It's not something I've capitalized on as an
Yeah.
actual offering, but it is something that can be done, and I have done. Most of the time,
Yeah.
my experience is you'll ask a financial person, what do they do? And they'll tell you the product that they sell. And it's like, well, that's kind
Mm,
of like, I sell life insurance or I do investments. And it's like, that's kind of like the lowest form of, not as a negative to people, but it's the lowest form of what our industry can be, given that money weaves through the fabric of every life decision anyone ever makes.
I know. And we've kind of created this culture, not kind of. We have created this culture where um the the people who, the love of money is evil, and
Yeah.
money makes things easier. Money makes things more convenient as long as you are not making money for the sake of making money. If you're making money to bring your family to Disney World,
Yeah.
if you're making money to do renovations to your home to improve it for your personal benefit and your family's benefit. If you're making money to I just met somebody today who their business funnels 25% 25% of their profits to nonprofit organizations.
Wow.
And so that's what she was talking about. She wasn't telling me. I still don't even know what she does for a living. I just know that her company, it was a very quick conversation, but her company puts 25% of their profits back into the community and local nonprofits. And so she didn't tell me what she did. She told me why she did it.
Mm-hmm.
Why she does what she does. She gave me her card. I'm going to have to hit her up, figure out what she actually does.
It's so
But
great.
it was a really timely conversation now that I'm speaking with you.
Yeah, it's one, I guess, so kind of answering that question, the other question that you said she told you, right? Why I do what I do is because money interweaves with every decision people make. And yet most people really haven't identified an overarching theme. Like what is it all for? See, even what you said, there's pitfalls. The reason is we as humans don't generally. Okay. So if I constitute money as a form of survival, which is on what almost every human does, it's a natural aspect of life, is that we're trying to survive.
We're not in a bartering society anymore. You're going to need money to survive in this day and age. Right.
So how that can manifest, even when it looks like it's purpose or a good thing, is it can manifest itself. Like, for example, we just bought this house, right, in South Carolina, and it's a 20-year-old house. It needed some work. So we're in the process of renovating it. The renovations, if you can hear the noise, a little bit of noise in the background, right? The renovations are going longer than anticipated, right?
Always.
I scheduled this thinking the renovation would be done. It's going longer than anticipated. So now if I'm looking at it at my non-coaching space, I'm a little annoyed. My wife's a little annoyed, a little frustrated. So something that was there as a thing to be excited about has turned into a point of frustration,
right?
Given the comparison of our expectations, what we thought was going to be the case compared to what is now. And most people go through that with everything in life. They buy a new car, they're excited about it, and then they realize, oh, maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. Or they see their friend driving something else and they go, oh, dang it, I wish I would have bought that. I do that with software with the business all the time. I get a new CRM. I'm like, this thing is great. And then I see an ad on Facebook and I start reading what it offers. And I'm like, I pulled the trigger too fast. Why didn't I get that software?
Right. No, I know that's such a small business owner thing for sure.
Right. And so most people go through that with every decision in their lives, never getting clear on a bigger picture or bigger purpose. And so it's always this endless cycle of momentary happiness, frustration by comparison, momentary happiness, frustration by comparison. And it's, I find that the more money you have, this is a weird conversation to go. I'm going to take a tangent for a second. I find that the more money you have without purpose, the more miserable you are.
No, I think that's 1000% accurate. And I've seen that because I've worked with some clients who bring in lots and lots of money every single year. And the most frustrating thing and the most upsetting thing for them is when they don't know where it's going. And I think they think that challenge is because they're super busy and they're very involved in their kids' sports, and this one's going to college and this one's doing they're doing 8 million things, and they think that they would be able to better enjoy it if they had a better, if we had more money coming in, whatever, like we'd be better able to enjoy it. It's not the more money, it's where it's going. And what they're doing with it. And they're not getting joy out of some of these things that they're spending money on. But I think they think if more of it came in, we would have more joy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of, like, again, an opportunity to be frustrated or aura for frustration is our entire pre-call. There was barely any renovation happening. Now it's like there's a circus going on in the background, and I apologize to any listeners that
nope, it happens. Like I mentioned you, we've had some people record in their cars before, so stranger things have happened.
Yeah, no, it's just but again, it's a perfect example of, in this particular instance, I don't have the ability to control, other than opening this door out there and going, hey, stop it, right. But then my renovation doesn't get done. I don't have the opportunity to control what's happening, but I do have the opportunity to control how I handle it. I can
Yeah.
be pissed off, I can be annoyed, I can be frustrated, or I can, find peace and
Right.
purpose. Right. So,
So
yeah.
speaking of finding things, the in the intro, I obviously mentioned that you had gone to this 2-day session and found out that there is a way to invest people's money scientifically. So once you discovered that, how did that kind of change what you were doing from the beginning to where you are now?
Well, yeah. So the additional backstory to that is when I got into the financial industry, I got into the financial industry watching my dad do day trading stocks.
Mm.
And my dad did that for about 20 years. And it was like a day in Hawaii. He'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, do some day trading, go to sleep, wake up at 6, do some more day trading, wake up before the market closed, do some more day trading, go run his real estate company, come home at
What?
night, pour over the charts, go to sleep, repeat. And
Oh
when it was
my
good,
gosh.
when it was good, it was good. But then when it was bad, um, it felt like I lost my dad for a while. Like the whole demeanor
Wow.
changed. He became bitter. He became frustrated. You couldn't talk to him at dinner when he was losing money, pouring over the charts. Couldn't be distracted, right? Um, and I got into the financial industry, and I'm like, well, I don't want to help people do that because
Right.
that was my only experience of investing, right? So I started with an insurance company because my thought was, well, if that's how investing works, then I don't want to facilitate people destroying their lives. But with
Right.
insurance, if you understand the contract, then you at least know what you're getting. There's no question mark with a contract if you understand it. So for the first 8 years of my career, I predominantly sold permanent insurance policies because they had contractual benefits, and literally that was people sell it for a whole bunch of different reasons, but mine was I watched people, my family, do financial mistakes that cause them lots of money, cause them lots of time, cause a lots
Mm.
of pain, and at least with these things, you knew what you were getting.
Right. This was more of
So
a black and white versus you're either buying this or you're not buying this versus investing in a
yeah,
stock and having to wait and see what the end game is, if there is an end game.
yes. Well, and it was interesting. So this is where the cracks started to appear, right? So about 3 years into the career, I got told I needed to get. Well, I guess it was actually earlier than that, probably like year and a half ish. I got told I needed to get my securities license, or because I needed to be able to offer investments, or I
Oh,
would
right.
be let go. And I said, well, I can do that, but do I have to be the one to offer it? And they said, no, you can bring in the senior investment specialist. And I went, thank God, because I don't want to. So, okay, I'll get my license, and if someone asks me about it, I'll bring in the senior investment specialist.
Right.
So I bring in the senior investment specialist, and all hunky dory. And then clients would call. I'm the point of contact, so clients would call me complaining about the investments or complaining about we were told this and this is what's happening. And I'd be like, this is why I passed you to him. I got no idea what's going on.
Right.
And then being a certified financial planner and chartered financial consultant, at some point it was like, it's kind of a problem that I don't know what's going on. This kind of doesn't work. So I finally, this is like 2016, 2015, somewhere in that ballpark. I
Mhm.
sat in on one of the meetings that the senior investment specialist had. And after the meeting, he goes, so what'd you think? I went, was that it? Like, that's what happens now. And he goes, well, they decide if they want to invest. And literally the whole conversation was just like, here's what a C share costs. Here's what an A share costs. Here's our pie chart. Here's your current pie chart. Which pie chart do you think is better? And I was just kind of flabbergasted. I'm like, well, no wonder people don't understand. And I don't even understand this.
Right.
Um,
Wow, that is right. And that's just so it's counterintuitive to what you were saying earlier about people needing to understand what their why is when it
yeah.
comes to their money. That is just literally giving people the dollars and cents on a page.
Yep.
Maybe with a couple cool looking pie charts that have lots of colors on them. But that is the
Well,
complete antithesis of what you mentioned earlier.
yeah, well, the thing, even giving them, even not talking about purpose in that scenario, it's still like, that'd be like going in to buy a car and you go, what are the features of this car? And they go, well, it drives.
Right. It runs on, well, I was going to say it runs on gas. Not everything runs on gas.
Right.
It has a steering wheel. It has 4 wheels.
Right. Ours has 4 wheels, and it also has captain seats, whereas this other car doesn't have captain seats. Which one do you want? Well, yeah, but I'd like to know more about like what's the fuel mileage,
The
what's
mileage
what's that?
and what's the features and the benefits and the safety options.
Right.
And
Wow. And it's like, well, I'm not going to talk to you about that. I'll just look at which color do you want? You like the black or do you like the white? We got Lunar's our new color, right? It was kind of like that. And so what occurred to me was, at some point, the question I asked myself was, I'm a certified financial planner. I took licensing tests to learn this stuff.
Yep.
Like, there has to be a way to invest money that isn't this, like smoke and mirrors, like basic conversation that's like, sounds easy to implement, but then, it doesn't work. That was the other thing. None of it worked. Like every time clients would come back. So after this meeting with the senior investment specialist, eventually I said, all the clients you put in this stuff, they call me, they tell me they're not happy with it. So like, what do we do? And he goes, well, it's all basically, this is literally, he goes, it's all basically the same. So just find something that's got a better story than that. And, we'll just tell them that.
Oh,
and I'm like,
my gosh.
Go, well, what about if we just found like the best option? And he goes, well, it's all the same. I'm like, but that can't logically be true.
Right.
Like, it's just not, it doesn't make any sense that it all be the same. Right. Not even index funds are all the same. This is one of the things I learned. You have the Charles Schwab S&P 500 index has different metrics and different ways of owning things than the Vanguard. So they're going to have different variations of returns, even though they own the same things.
Right. A minivan and a sedan are both cars, but they're used for 2 completely different types of purposes, and you get something out of those 2 things that are completely different.
Yeah. And so from 2016 to 2017, I basically took a hiatus. I had clients come to me and I'm like, listen, I can help you with the insurance stuff, but the investment stuff, I'm going to suggest you don't do anything yet because I don't know. I don't know the answer. And I started going to conference after conference after conference, talking to what a dirty little secret of our industry is most financial advisors, what they know about the products that they're offering or what the wholesalers told them. So we have wholesalers that sell different mutual funds like Genworth or Asset Mark or different things like that. And they'll come in and do a pitch to us as the advisors on what their product is and why it's good or, blah, 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 blah. And then most of the time we just regurgitate that to clients, pick the story that we liked or one that's going to pay us the most or someone that wined and dined us. And that's the dirty secret of the industry. Almost no one knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, that also that makes me think of pharmaceutical reps.
Yeah.
The doctor might be giving you something that works for your condition, but there might be 2 options, and they're giving you the option of the pharmaceutical rep who took them out to dinner last week at their conference.
Yeah.
When the second option may very well work better for you. So
it reminds me of that.
The methodology is not tied directly to the financial industry, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other topic, right? That's the beauty and the negative of capitalism. And then the beauty and the negative of regulations is like, does the market work better than regulators to actually, support people by breeding competition? Totally different conversation. But the point being in that is, it just wasn't working.
Right.
And so I attend the funny part about this event. So the company I now use for the money management piece, similar to other companies where they're like wholesaler, right? So they go directly through the financial advisors. But I remember doing the conversation with them in 2017, and they said, well, in order to use our strategy, you have to attend the 2-day event in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And I'm used to wholesalers wining and dining me, right? So I go, oh, great. Are you going to put us up at a hotel, cover flights? And the guy laughs. He goes, no. And I said, okay. So we pay our own transportation. Fine, not a problem. And he goes, well, there's one other thing. He goes, it costs $10,000 to learn about our process. And I'm like, what? $10,000? And he goes, yeah. And I said, no one else does that. Everybody else takes me out to places. And he asked one question. Only question he needed to ask. How's that working for you?
Oh, that is
And
that question applies to financial coaching as well too, because
yeah,
that question I use not because I'm trying to sell people to become my client, but typically if I'm interviewing a couple and one half of the couple wants to do financial coaching and the other one doesn't, inevitably something will come up in the conversation and the spouse who doesn't want to do coaching will say, well, we're doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah.
hmm
And I'll look at them and I'll say, how's that going for you? Because we're sitting here having a consultation and your spouse is stressed out. Your
yeah,
spouse is freaking out. Your spouse is whatever. So I'm not trying to say it's a manipulation technique, but it is a question that makes the person being asked really stop and think.
yeah. Well, it's definitely it can be used as a manipulation technique, right? But if you're not using it as a manipulation technique, then what's the point of it? And the point of it is humans have biases, and one of those biases is overconfidence bias. And I can, in my mind, think everything's good. Well, you remember that meme of the guy sitting in the room that's on fire, and he goes,
Yeah,
"This
it's
is
a
fine."
little, this is fine.
Yeah,
This is fine.
yeah.
This
Well,
is
that's
fine
our
meme.
brains
Absolutely.
actually do that, right? Our
Yeah.
brains will convince ourselves that a situation that's not actually great is fine to survive. And it's the question of, well, how's that working for you, that forces me to confront the reality, right? It's a forcing me to deal with reality. And that's exactly what it did. It forced me to deal with the reality that I watched my dad do financial things that made mistakes, or that hurt him and that hurt our family. And more importantly, had him, you know, stressed and bitter and upset instead of happy. And then forced to confront everything I'd done in the financial world since then was just an extension of that.
So
Um,
needless to say, we dropped 10 grand on a
Yeah.
conference.
Yep. So drop 10 grand on the conference, go through the 2 days and learn more in 2 days than I'd learned in my entire career around how money and investing actually works. And that there was an actual multiple Nobel Prize winning scientific principles around how you build a portfolio. To the extent, like, I'll just give you a brief example of that. Most people understand diversification as don't have all your eggs in one basket. But that's actually a misunderstanding of the science. The science, if you were to try to put it into a metaphor, would be more accurately said, don't have crappy eggs. Yeah. But that then, if you ask the question that way, what that requires you to be able to answer is, how would I know what a crappy egg is? How would
Mm,
I actually have the measurements, the statistics, the details required to determine if something's a crappy egg? If I operate out of just don't have all my eggs in one basket, I can put a bunch of stuff into my portfolio. A lot of it's probably going to be working against everything else, but I feel okay because I've got a lot of stuff.
I've got lots of eggs. That doesn't mean
I've
I
got lots
have
of
the
eggs.
best eggs. Right.
Bingo. Right.
Interesting.
And so
Wow.
the actual scientific point of diversification is to, for a given level of risk, maximize the return, or for a given level of return, reduce the risk. I can only do that if I'm combining things into a portfolio properly.
Right. Wow. It's amazing that this isn't something that is, I mean, we can go off another half hour on this if we'd like to, but, these principles should probably just be taught in school.
Yeah.
At some point, even the basics of it, right?
Well, the
And
biggest the
so
biggest problem with these principles are that they work against human nature, because almost everything we are trying to do, if you look at how humans operate in life, almost everything we are trying to do is predict the future to survive. And what the science says is, what it's basically saying is, there is no prediction necessary. There is no trying to get out ahead of it. There is sitting on your hands or twiddling your thumbs and sticking with something that has a long-term success pattern and strategy. And that is one of the most difficult things for humans to do, because we're
Yep.
always on the lookout for the bad future that could happen or the good thing we want to happen. And we have a real difficult time sitting still.
Right. Absolutely. The
That's
thing
why
that it
the
makes
coaching comes into play. That's why
yes.
the investor coaching piece, right?
Right. Right. Because, hey, I need you to sit on your hands so that you can accomplish that goal you told me about, so that
Yeah.
we can reach that why that you already mentioned to me. No, it makes total sense, but it is counterintuitive when it comes to, yeah, and forget about instant gratification. All right, we're going to have to do a whole series on this stuff. So, but
Listen,
all of that
I would
being
love
said,
to. You're
yeah, I
great.
know.
You're
All of that
phenomenal.
being said, you obviously did not learn all this stuff overnight. And
No.
you've had some things in your past that you have messed up as well. So, Thomas, what would you say is the dumbest thing you've ever done with money?
Man, which one do you want? Like, no, I know. So the dumbest one I've ever done, and I'll say this one's the dumbest one because I did it as a practitioner. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is, at this point, what I'm going to tell you happened in 2018. I already knew this whole sit on your hands, twiddle your thumbs, stay
Methodology. Yep.
disciplined, don't try to predict the future, don't try to time when you get in and out of stuff, that there's a scientific method to it, leave it alone, right? I already knew this. And it's September of 2018. We're buying a new house. And I've got the down payment money in my investment account, which was an aggressive portfolio, like almost 100% stock. And I know I need that money in November. And the prudent thing to do would have been to remove it from exposure to risk,
At,
because there's a
whatever
short,
date. Right.
yeah, because when there's a question mark around time frame, like I don't know when I'm going to retire, I don't know, when I'm going to need this money, you have permission to take the maximum amount of risk you want to take. But the moment you introduce a time frame, the risk needs to be reevaluated. So I introduced a 2-month time frame, and if I followed my own advice, the 2-month time frame would have reevaluated the risk, and I would have put that money somewhere safe. And instead, I went, it's only 2 months. The market's been pretty good beginning of the year. Let's kind of see what happens.
Oh, no.
And October rolls around, and I think October 2018. I think our aggressive portfolio, the one I was in, lost like 18% or 20% or something in that one, time of span.
Oh.
Subsequently, it came up, but I had to take the down payment, right? So I remember, talk about frustration and all that kind of stuff. I remember being like, tell my wife, maybe we should just renege on the house. Like, maybe we should just give up the down. I don't want to take the money. That's
Yeah.
compounding the loss.
And
That's
not
the
right, because not
dumbest
only
thing.
that, we've taken something that we've made it painful, and now we've made it super painful, right? We're already taking the money out
Yeah.
of the account to put on a down payment for the house. We're getting a reward for that, but now we've just made that painful.
Yes. So, it's a compounded loss, basically, because I
Oh.
take it while it's down 20% and put it to work somewhere that's not going to earn anything. So I was just sitting there, and I was, I'm in my emotions, I'm like, oh God.
What do the
And
kids say? You're in your feelings.
I'm in my feels, right? And so, but I do it, and I guess if nothing else, what it created was a really powerful story around. So it's the dumbest thing I've done with money, but what it created was a powerful story around, man, I know all this stuff,
Right.
and I had trouble staying disciplined to it when it mattered. So what is the average person? What is the average person? What shot do they have of staying disciplined to something for 30, 40 years so that it actually produces the results promised by the nature of capitalism and markets, when someone who actually understands now the science had difficulty? Like, it's just it's why you said something earlier about why isn't this taught in schools. This is why. It's too difficult
Oh.
to do without some kind of coach or without some kind of guidance.
Yeah.
You could understand portfolio theory, and your emotions and instincts and biases and behavior will get in the way
Yeah.
every time.
No, you're absolutely right. So with that being said, Thomas, what would you say if you could go back in the past, if we're in September of 2018, what would you have done differently?
It's a hard question. The reason why it's a hard question is because everything I do is a function of what I've learned. So if I went back in time and robbed myself of that lesson, would that make what I do less powerful. So I don't know.
The answer we've gotten in the past before sometimes has surprised me. Some people have said they wouldn't have changed anything. They would have let it happen. They would have bought the bad car because they were having an emotional day and fell victim to the salesperson. They would have let themselves get into credit card debt because if they didn't do it then, they would have done it eventually. So the answer can be, I would have still let it happen.
I think it depends on the nature of it, right? If I could go, like if I had a time machine and I can go back, keeping the lesson and go back in time, 100%.
And not lose the money.
Right. And if I could have the lesson and shift what happened, then 100%. But if it was erasing the lesson, then I wouldn't choose that.
Nice. Yeah. I think that is probably the most balanced answer I've ever gotten, for sure. It's been 3.5 years. So Thomas, thank you so much for sharing your financial blunders with the audience today. Thomas's contact information is in our show notes as always. And I hope you guys will join me next week for another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. Thanks again, Thomas.
Thank you.